Good morning, guys. John Tarks here with Midline and Minden. It's Friday morning, April 6th. Here with your Friday First Look video, your inaugural one for the growing season. Kind of hard to believe we're talking about planting on a snowy morning like this. Kind of unusual weather patterns for this time of year, but before long we will be back in the field. One of the things I kind of wanted to touch base with you guys on, and it's been kind of a hot topic here in recent weeks around the office, is sudden death syndrome in soybeans. And part of why we're kind of bringing this up is while sudden death was not a huge issue in 2017 for guys, it was in 2016. And I think a key point and why we want to address this today is that in 16 we had a very, very wet year, a lot of moisture, and we have farms that are rotating back into soybeans that were soybeans in 2016. If you're like Dad and I, and some of our lower line, some of our better farms, some of our honey hole type of acres, we didn't have quite the bean crop on some of those acres in 2016 that we would have liked, and we feel like sudden death syndrome was a lot of the culprit and reason why. I kind of challenge right now to think back to some of those lower lying farms and think a little bit about maybe places or pockets or 10 to 15 acre holes that where you saw dramatic drops in yield. And if you've got those kinds of farms or things that you can recall, you might have a farm or something that was susceptible to it in 2016 and could be a good candidate to have it again here in 2018. And this morning we kind of want to talk to you just about a little bit of a game plan to address those problems, to make sure we don't see those types of yield decreases in those pockets on your farms. And there's several things to really use kind of in our management toolcase here to make this thing happen for us this year. Wet weather is always going to be something that's going to bring this on. So you're going to know where some of these farms are typically at, some of your lower lying areas, things you probably got tiled out, areas like that. Any place where compaction's been an issue, if you know for sure you've had sudden death at these farms in the past, that's another place you're going to want to plan for this year. And then of course we're going to want to look into planting date. I mean, soybeans typically, if we're out there very first, we're talking kind of April planting, early May plantings. Cool, wet conditions are going to encourage sudden death. So maybe from a planting schedule standpoint, we might want to plant these fields a little more mid-range of our planting schedule, or maybe even on the tail end, just to make sure that we don't help propagate this fusarium fungal disease. It's kind of the gateway for SDS to start in your plants. Now, part of your game plan on how to handle this for 2018, if you think this is an issue that you have, one, we're going to want to start with our most resistant varieties to SDS, and then with Asgrow we've got really 4 that fit into our product lineup that we're actively selling and marketing and sending out the door. On the Roundup Ready side, just the original Roundup Ready to yield beans, our 2836s would be your top choice to go into these types of environments. If you're on the Extend side, which we've had a lot of guys that have flat flipped a lot of seed over to the Extend this year, your 29X8s, that's a brand new 2.9 we have here in the tanks in Underwood, that would be an excellent choice for that. Your 32X6, again, another variety we have here in the tanks that would be a great choice to put in these type environments. And if you're on the longer side of things, a 33X8, we don't have a ton of those units out the door, but those would be our top 4 choices when we look at a game plan to address sudden death syndrome on farms this year. We want to include that as like our baseline, our foundation of our game plan to handle it. The next part, and I think that part of why we're addressing this with you today, is a Levo seed treatment. That's a $13 a bag deal to have added on, but that's going to be really your rock star to go in there and take care of this. And I don't believe, we've kind of found through Plots Plus, and I don't believe a Levo's a seed treatment that is something we need to have on every acre all the time. And that $13 price tag is going to deter you from wanting to do that anyway. But what we have found is on these farms with sudden death history, lower lying farms like we've mentioned, I would really encourage you guys to get in contact with us about getting those beans treated with the Levo. When you're talking a 10, 15, 20, I've even seen places where 30 bushel yield drop, as we're looking over yield maps on Climate, where you can see these pockets that just had dramatic drops, and the only thing there is SDS working on our plants. When you look at a $13 per bag value on the Levo, that looks pretty cheap when you take a market price times 10, 15, 20 bushel the acres. So those are things to really talk about. Avoid first planting like we talked. Another thing in our toolkit to handle this would be to talk to your chemical retailer about maybe an R1 stage type of fungicide treatment over the top. I'm not sure that's totally necessary, but if you've got a very severe situation, that might be something to talk to your chemical guy about. Another thing this time of year with a lot of acres going, we have a number of guys pulling farms that have been multi-year corn on corn farms, and going to put them into beans this year, just with the farm economy as it is, make sure you've got inoculant on some of those acres. If you've got farms that haven't been in soybeans, I would say 3 years. If they haven't had a legume like alfalfa or soybeans on those farms, I would highly recommend an inoculant that we put on your beans. That's a $4 a unit treatment cost for you. You're going to want that to have the bacteria in your soil present to fixate nitrogen. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to put together. If you can't fixate nitrogen, producing yield out of those plants is going to get awful challenging, awful fast. So, a large reason that we bring this up is some of these specialty treatments like an inoculant or Alivo or products that are available to you through Midline and Minden. We are going to pre-season treat these this year. We're trying to kind of do Kerry a favor and get some of this done on the front side, so we're not cleaning the tank out multiple times throughout the planting season. We are kind of setting the expectation this year that if you would like to have Alivo treated soybeans or inoculant treated soybeans, that by a week from the day, April 13th, that's kind of our deadline to get your seed treated, get your orders in on that, and make sure that we can get you taken care of and protect yield for you this year. When obviously with the economy the way it is, we can't afford to make misses on 10, 15, 20 acre pockets or whole farm cases on the inoculant side. So with that, guys, hey, it's Friday morning, April 6th. This has been John Tarks here with Midline and Minden. Have a great weekend.